been, Barbie movie, American Horror Stories, The Bear. The Bear was great. They used 6 different pieces. My name is Enrique III. I'm the owner of Fine and Dandy Throwback. We started, my partner and I, Fine and Dandy, the brand, 2008, just online. And then we opened our shop next door, which is our OG shop, back in 2012, I'd like to say, going into 11 years now. And so this space opened up 2 years ago. So I'm celebrating 2 years of the vintage showroom. Sure. What got me into fashion? I guess we can go back. I'm 45 years old, so I've only just known vintage fashion and retail all my life. When my family moved to Calgary, Canada, just after the Olympics, and we were super cold coming out of the Philippines, so I was introduced to thrift shops. One in particular was Value Village. That was my introduction and kind of became my playground. Then from then on, I just kind of started working through retail and people facing jobs. I've kind of done it all over the years. I kind of got into the Zara opening in our city in Calgary, where I grew up. Maybe in the country as well. This was like 2002. Stayed with the company for 12 years. Kind of worked my way from stockroom to merchandising to visual to assistant manager to management to department head to flagship here in New York City. And then my partner and I started Fine and Dandy as a side kind of thing, hobby out of our apartment. Yeah, so we've been doing vintage next door, our main shop, and I was really interested in kind of 80s, 90s colors and shapes, Ivy League idea, and kind of dressing up. That's how we kind of created our accessory brand. So when this space opened up, we wanted to create something a little bit more different, perhaps younger. We kind of joke about, like the parents will go on that side and the kids will come here. We work with a lot of TV or film productions or even designers. I love it when they send me mood boards or like inspo kind of pages, Pinterest, any sort of ideas where I can start pulling in my head. Everything in here, I can tell you a story of why I picked that item. So it's just a collection of something interesting and cool, maybe something that you don't see too often, or maybe it's a special kind of distress or wear or character of the piece, even if it's like men or women's or unisexy kind of items, I call it now. That's really where I kind of thrive. Interesting now to kind of see side to side at both of our shops how different they are. As far as designer pieces go, I don't really search out for anything specific. I like to kind of keep, when I'm picking or kind of figuring out if it's right for the shop. I think part of the challenge here is just the space, being in New York City. Rent is expensive, and being in Midtown and Hell's Kitchen. So you have to be very picky. You got to edit and make sure, it's special enough to be here and different enough so that you don't see it everywhere else. I always say polo is sort of like the gateway for a lot of ours that got into vintage. Also being in New York City, polo, Ralph Lauren is kind of every season and all the different kind of looks and lifestyles. So they're out there. But, also the whole Low Lives book and everything, that's a special kind of moment that, happened here in the city. I have a few collector items. I've sold definitely a lot of polo, all the different labels. There's also a lot of Americana brands, but I'm also not opposed to smaller, imported brands that have the Americana look. It really depends on the particular item. Cool story with that is originally made for women. But a few months ago, came across shorts that came with it, which I never knew it came with. So that's a new one that I've never seen before. It's hard for me to kind of keep up. There's so much cool things that cool brands and, young, fashion students are doing that I come across online, or I think fashion is just moving so fast now than when I first started years ago. I just kind of enjoy seeing the creativity and just how much cool new things are out there. I mean, the state of fashion is changing, like it's always changing. As long as the world's kind of and the kids are so enthusiastic about fashion, I think it's great. I love what's happening with the rework, vintage, and even designers and new designers are really tapping back into their archives. I never really have one particular obsess with a designer. just like soak everything in. I mean, when I was growing up, I've always just been a curious kid. I kind of annoyed my parents, reading all the signs and, just having a curious eye. And I think that's really the key, just being open to everything that's around you, right? Being in New York is like the best sort of runway you can have. So many different people, different kind of fashion. Even the state of fashion now, it's like anything is kind of all at once a trend, right? And kind of finding your own sort of a tribe and, the right people, trying new things, being open-minded, whereas before I feel like there's much more restriction or, a few more sort of like hurdles you have to get through. I think now it's just really about, surround yourself with the right people, with the right energy, and sort of not even ambitious, but just the right sort of positivity where each other can kind of support each other at whatever sort of projects all of you might have. And I see that a lot right now with the state of fashion here in the city. So fashion, that's not a real job. Like, find another one.
Yeah.
You gotta be in science. You gotta even like you can go into even schooling now. Like the idea of secondary education back then, you gotta finish your diploma. So it's really like about just do what you want to do, and just find the right people to do it with. It feels like so simple, but I guess getting older kind of gives you that insight, sort of like, oh, okay, that's how it is. I think we were just kind of told to do, like you should follow this specific path this way or this way. It's like all of that is like, it's a different world, right? So, and it's still kind of changing. Yeah, so it's a funny word, right? When it first kind of came out, it's sort of like, what does that mean? But, really what it is like, kind of sharing what sharing your knowledge, right? Versus trying to keep it to yourself so that, you grow and no one else grow with you, I guess. I mean, there's people, it's become a funny thing now too. Like, yeah, I'm gatekeeping these stores because, I don't want it to be found. It's like it's a very New York sort of mentality. We're always looking for the fresh thing, and once it's found, then it's done. I get that. But for me, I'm just excited to see, I say kids just because everybody's 22 and like half my age. They're all enthusiastic, and so I want to help them out because nobody kind of did that for me when I was younger. Why not share what you know? I mean, it's out there already. People are going into like sewing classes and like tutorials in YouTube and learning how to sew and like sewing really good, and getting hired by the designers and brands to do activations or collaborations. Part of that is because there's just so much more information. There's now the internet, of course. Be picky, I guess, or on who you want to share your secrets. It's not even a secret, right? But it's just like yeah. But it's always a funny term. So I've never really had any sort of like 5-year plan, like what's your life goals, or I've never been that person. But I'm just kind of like watching it day by day, see how it can evolve, and who's the customer, what type of customers are coming in. Over the 2 years, it's already gone through like different sort of way I fold or the way I would present and show pieces here, and it's still growing and changing. And also, we're just one person. We don't really have any staff, so it's nice to be able to have access to everything in a small space. And so I do like the small space, but I continue to do my pop-up series. I invite friends, other dealers, to have them pop up for a weekend. I'd like to continue doing that. It'll be my 3rd year doing that. TV and film designers discovering me for make an appointment for their reference pieces. And I don't have like a minimum spend, which a lot of showrooms will have a minimum spend to come in, or even have a fee just to have a makeup appointment. Like, I want it to be accessible to anybody, just so like a young kid from the school here, which has happened a lot, gets excited, and that kind of brings me back to how I felt when I was discovering new stores and thrift stores like that. So I kind of want to be accessible. Anyway, this is one of the oldest pieces, I guess, that I have. I would say like 1800s Japanese indigo swatch book. Really neat. There's a little bit of variations. So stuff like this, I kind of, you know, will have a hard time to sell. This one a little bit more interesting, probably like early 1900s. You know, you have a little bit more different colors and patterns. But yeah, really cool, right, to see and how they've kind of stayed intact. Here's another Japanese book, I believe. A lot of images, sort of kind of reference. You know, some starts with some colors. So much in like this little tiny book. Okay, so let's look at some pieces. This actually came from Matt's uncle. He worked in MTV. From what I learned, it's only like 20 were made. I actually really like the red and gray combo together. We actually made a Hell's Kitchen pennant out of this colorway. We're trying to figure out if it was given to him or this was actually like his own. Probably one of the oldest pieces. Back here we can move into this. So really cool repair. Comes from China. 1930s. You got the herringbone twill. Love the little repairs in different colorways. Yeah, it's kind of nice to see that, you know, one of the originals. Kind of really neat. Just waiting for the right size. Everybody likes this one. All right, let's see. I was born in the Philippines. Been loving this sort of Filipino made shirts. Also like some of the Barong Tagalogs, which is our like kind of traditional shirt. I even like when they start to kind of wear. And then this one in particular, you can just see like the craftsmanship. Here's another cool one, embroidery. I love the pockets. So I guess I'm going with a kind of embroidery collection here right now. So we can talk about maybe what I've been into lately, like handmade stuff. Like this shirt is actually quite cool, interesting. This blazer normally comes in just like a blanket kind of fabric. Was used in like Burkina Faso. It's done by hand. This is a collection of, you know, these chambray shirts, you know, different embroideries on them, or like painted, then even sort of kind of quirky, you know, little trims like that. You know, you can see why I would pick certain pieces, right? A couple of newer pieces I've just gotten, you know, just a regular denim, but really intricate kind of work they did on that, which is kind of cool. Let's do something New York. How about that piece? I usually try to have a lot of sort of New York memorabilia or New York related stuff. You know, being in New York, this is a pretty cool, nice shirt. New York Times. If you watched the Sex and the City reboot of it, the first time that Carrie actually wore pieces from this side was all like 3 New York related sweatshirts, and so the opening scene was her wearing a white you know, reverse weave New York Times employee sweatshirt as she comes out of the door. So that was kind of a really cool moment to see. You know, it's kind of pretty iconic. Yeah, they bought a bunch of stuff actually, but yeah, Carrie was special because you know, the fans actually love it when she kind of wears sort of, you know, a very sort of homegirl kind of feel. So those pieces were great. The second and third pieces were like a Monopoly sweatshirt. That's like a New York Monopoly sweatshirt. I actually couldn't find that anywhere. And then the third one was a Daily News sweatshirt. Yeah, you know, we've had a really good year for that. There's been, you know, Barbie movie, American Horror Stories, The Bear. Oh my gosh, The Bear I love because I work in a restaurant and you know, in the kitchen, and so I totally know that whole world, and it's one of the best shows. So it was kind of neat. They were worn by different characters. I believe 2 or 3 different characters. It's not normal, you know, when they use that many pieces. I mean, everything that we've done for productions, even if it's set, you know, present day, they still want the 90s vibe. Like, it's not going anywhere. You know, that's still what they want. And you know, we see it in the new movie trailers. You know, you can tell that it's like, oh, okay, they've been shopping at a vintage shop, or maybe partnered with you know, a prop house or whatnot, or rental shop.